What I share may be counterintuitive, but let's give it a try. When I studied Tao Te Ching, that's Lao Tzu, and the idea is Wu-wei, no action. It sounded very foreign at the beginning, but over time I studied and also studied the Chan Tzu. I realized there's a wisdom there, and one way to capitalize or explain that wisdom is if you want to do a right thing, don't do the wrong things. It's the idea of inversion. Charlie Munger talks about the inversion quite often. If you want to make money, don't lose money. If you want to live long, don't go to where you die. If you want to do the right thing, don't do the wrong thing. The same idea. And I realize that's very applicable when you study Daoism and also Zen and others too. When we are from the Garden of Eden to eat apple, to know the knowledge, good and bad, right and wrong, and all of that, we start to use the mind or the brain that the animals or plant may not have. But along with it, abuse the mind being a tool, we often create delusion. If you study AI would be using the process of elimination of problem or developing a way to find the wisdom by collecting information, lots of data, and out of that, find out most probable course of event that may help us. You can call it also the idea of inversion, gathering the data, lots of experiences out of it, find out the optimum solution. So living life, let's forget about AI because I don't want to be confused technology, but as an example, I use that if we want to live a good life, the notion of no action is quite appealing. It took time to get here, but one way to characterize is when you do practice no action, you don't make judgment prematurely. You take time. You don't do anything. No mind. Let things be. Let it be. Like the Beatles. Then we listen to the wisdom. Connect to the heart. Connect to the source. The source of universe, so to speak. The way of universe or laws of universe manifesting from within us because we are the result of it and it's the process going on from moment to moment. So we want to connect that. The mind is added later as if mind can do lots of things and that helped us to get where we have with this higher level of standard of living compared to the nature's way. But if you look at the nature's way, things are very peaceful, harmonized. Of course, from the eyes of a human, there may be a dying and killing and all that happen, but by themselves, they're just following the way of nature. As much as we added the brain to go beyond the nature's way, so to speak, because mind can create its own dimension, the universe, compared to the nature's way, how things are manifesting. So there's a gap in between, and if we have a gap, the mind creates delusion. So in order to align our mind to be truthful, sincere, right way, according to or following the law of nature, we need to have a connection, alignment between the brain or the mind and the heart. the heart being the source of who we are. So one of the videos I mentioned about we need to go back to the Garden of Eden to eat apple again. So the knowledge is digested, aligned to the way of nature where it's feasible, and you can call Wu-wei is to do that. No action. As in meditation, you just observed how the mind functions. It's like a clouds popping up, move away, and evaporate. Sometimes the cloud can keep on going, and you go into the lots of problem solving in the mind and get lost. We call it the monkey mind. The mind cannot figure out what to do because they are detached from the source where the wisdom can be found if we have a way of connecting. So the idea of inversion is very applicable. When you realize you're getting into the trap to get lost from the way of the universe, then you don't go there. The problem is that we may not know when we are going into the wrong direction. So we're digging into the hole, so to speak. And so that it doesn't happen, we are to train ourselves of letting go. Whenever the mind functions, we need to observe how the mind is functioning, which requires our experience awakening, so to speak, of who we really are at the core. But if we don't see it, it's not feasible. You cannot watch how the mind is functioning. So you're already living in one dimension of the mind, and you think that's everything, except you forgot where you came from and how the things manifest and connected still if we realize that source, the way of universe, the laws of nature. That's the absolute situation of whatever is happening. And we detached ourselves with the brain, and of course you may have benefited by higher level standard compared to the nature's way of living. So we live longer and prosperous in our way of prosperity, but that may be off from the laws of universe and damaging what the nature has created for our own sake, the ego of human, so to speak. And it's multiplying, and because of the use of technology and AI and all of that, if we don't have a good control of it, that may go beyond the earth and expand and away from connecting to the source of who we are. Is that the progress? We found lots of delusion that came with our mind, use of mind or abuse of mind. Unless we have figured out which is connecting to the source and the wisdom, I'm not quite certain about what the correct progress means. Progress sounds like the idea that is generated artificially as human with a brain or the mind for its own sake. And it's kind of like an ego of human being. If we lose touch with the law of nature manifesting everywhere. So we are now almost trying to break the law or go beyond the law of nature and eliminating some species, changing the climate and damaging ourselves, and we lose our identity or connecting to the source. So let's ponder no action. It took, I don't know how many days or months I went through it to figure out. And the best way I can explain for now is to let the mind be. No action. And stay there longer and longer and realize what may happen and study what we can learn. If you use the analogy of meditation by going deep into samadhi and meditation, the panya, wisdom may pop up, which is similar to that non-action, not playing with the mind, emptying the mind. Then you realize openness, transparency, nothingness, vast stillness, and the way of how the universe functioning. That's the awakening. And more people may have such experience so that we may have a balanced way of living. So let's leave it with that as a question, so that if we question to and then decide not to take action prematurely, in other words, Wu-wei, no action, no human brain process that we are accustomed to, but let the situation to happen on its own, and what we may learn out of it, the wisdom may pop up. It's an experiential process that we need to go through each individually. But I think, well, thinking is a tricky thing, but let that non-action, the idea of inversion, and let the truth to be found by not getting into the wrong direction. You can call it practicing the Sila Samadhi Panya, right conduct, samadhi, no action. The wisdom may pop up, the Panya. And keep doing and eliminating the chance of getting into the sidetracking, into delusion. Then we open up and learn experientially to live better according to the law of nature, but utilizing our mind along the way in a manner that makes sense as a wisdom. Thank you.